We know that lithium is a big deal these days. It's the stuff that powers our phones, our laptops, our car, and maybe even your mood. Yes, that's right. Lithium is also used as a mood stabilizer in medications. But it's a metal that can hold a lot of juice, which makes it perfect for making batteries. And batteries are an essential part of our modern life, especially as we try to switch from dirty fossil fuels to clean and renewable energy sources. That's why lithium is in high demand, but it is also in short supply. By 2025, the world will need more lithium than it can produce. So finding lithium is literally like finding a gold mine. And that's what's happened to Serbia, the small European country that has one of the largest lithium deposits in the world. Mining giant Rio Tinto offered to invest billions of dollars in digging up and processing Serbia's lithium. This would have a huge boost for Serbia's economy, which is one of the poorest in Europe. It also has the potential to make Serbia an important player in the global market and the Green Revolution. But do you know the saying, it sounds too good to be true? That's certainly the case here. Mining lithium is not as simple, and it's certainly not as green as it might sound. It requires a lot of water, chemicals and energy. It can also harm the environment and the health of those people who live by the mine. So many people in Serbia are just not okay with this. They have been protesting against the project and have asked the government to protect their land, water and air from pollution. They also doubt whether the deal with Rio Tinto is fair and honest. Under the claims of public pressure, the Serbian government decided to put the project on hold in December 2021. But many people are not sure that the project is really paused. They noticed that Rio Tinto has been buying properties in the mining area over the past year, even after the government's decision. They also wonder who is behind a new company called Innobat, which announced in September this year that it will build a gigafactory in Serbia for making and recycling batteries. It sounds like something dodgy is going on, right? So what is really going on with Serbia and its lithium treasure? Is it a blessing or a curse, a chance to grow, or is it a risk to nature? Or is it a source of income or a cause for possible conflict? Hi, I'm Greg and welcome back to the channel. Stay tuned as we delve into the controversial history of mining giant Rio Tinto and their proposed mining plans in Serbia's Jadar Valley. Imagine finding a mineral that no one has ever seen before. Well, that's exactly what happened in 2004 when some geologists from Rio Tinto's exploration were drilling in the Jadar Valley of western Serbia. They found some small round balls that looked like nothing they had ever seen before. They sent samples of these to scientists in London and Canada, whom confirmed that they did in fact discover a new mineral. They named it Jadarite, and it turned out to be a super rare and valuable mineral. Why? Well, it has a lot of lithium and borates in it, ideal for making batteries. And Rio Tinto wanted to start mining the mineral and, of course, bringing the big bucks from it earlier this year. But this is where their problems started. The public in Serbia are simply not cool with this. At a time when the world faces a climate and ecological emergency, they are worried that the mining only furthers the climate crisis by ruining the environment and, not to forget, their health. The Jadar Valley is a beautiful place with rich agriculture and culture, and the Serbs simply don't want to see it being destroyed. So they have started to protest. A lot. They've been to the streets of Belgrade, the capital of Serbia, and blockaded the road. They have also held up signs saying things like Serbia's nature is not for sale and no to concentrated sulfuric acid instead of raspberries and honey. They've also protested in other places like the Jadar River and the mining site. The government, taken by surprise to this reaction and the sheer scale of the protests that went beyond the usual activists, say that they listened to the people's concerns and they have put the project on hold. but some people think that they are still secretly working with Rio Tinto to make the deal happen. They say that the government is trying to pass new laws that would make it easier for them to expropriate the land and ignore public opinion. So who is right? Is Jadarite a unique discovery that could benefit Serbia and the rest of the world? Or is it too good to be true and too risky to be worth it? What do you think? Please drop your comments in the box below. As lithium is pretty rare and valuable, some companies are digging up the earth to get more of it. But not all lithium is the same, such as the uniqueness of Jadarite, which also has boron in it. Now, boron is another element that has some uses like making glass stronger or making laundry detergent, which kind of sounds cool, having multi-benefits, right? Well, not really, because mining Jadarite is a huge mess for the environment and the people who live near it. And as we mentioned earlier, it's no wonder why a lot of Serbians are, well, kind of pissed off about it. First of all, mining Jadarite means destroying a lot of nature. The miners will have to blast away rocks, dirt and plants to get to the ore, and this can wipe out forests, wildlife and soil quality in the area, which is not cool, especially given we're facing a climate crisis and need to protect our ecosystems. The mining also makes a lot of noise and dust, which can annoy and harm the people who live nearby. Secondly, mining Jadarite means using a lot of chemicals and water. The ore has to be crushed, ground and treated with various substances to separate the lithium from the boron and the rest of the other stuff. And this creates a huge amount of wastewater, and pollution can then end up in rivers and lakes if it isn't handled properly. And that can affect the health of humans and animals who depend on this clean water. Thirdly, mining Jadarite means creating a lot of waste. The leftover materials from the mining and the processing, called tailings, are full of heavy metals and other nasty things that can contaminate the soil and water if it's not stored safely. Now, these tailings can also leak or spill over time, causing more damage to the environment. So as you can see, mining Jadarite is not a good idea for anyone except for the companies who make money from it. It has a bigger environmental impact than regular lithium mining, which is already bad enough. So although it's important for us to demand that these companies follow sustainable practices and reduce their environmental footprint, it would be better yet to invest this kind of money they have in finding alternative sources of energy and don't require destroying the planet. Rio Tinto is a huge Anglo-Australian mining company that has been around for more than a century, and they have dug up all kinds of stuff like copper, iron, diamonds and uranium. But Rio Tinto is really not cool. They have done a lot of bad things to the planet and the people who live on it. Some examples of their shady history include the Grasberg mine in Indonesia. Rio Tinto was part of this massive gold and copper mine that messed up the environment big time. They cut down the trees and dump toxic waste into the rivers, making the water dirty and unsafe for the locals. The OK Teddy mine in Papua New Guinea, Rio Tinto also had a share in this mine that was a disaster for the environment. The mine produced a lot of garbage and dumped it into the Fly River, killing the fish and plants and forcing people to leave their homes. The Bougainville copper mine in Papua New Guinea, Rio Tinto was also behind this mine that operated from 1972 to 1989. The mine ruined the land and the water with its mining activities, and this made the people really angry, and they started a bloody civil war on the island. In 2020, Rio Tinto blew up some ancient Aboriginal rock shelters in Western Australia. The caves were very important for the culture and history of the Aboriginal people, and although Rio Tinto knew this, they didn't care and they went ahead with their mining project anyway. It's hard then not to believe that Rio Tinto has been a bad actor in the world. They have faced a lot of backlash and demands for justice for their actions. It's worth understanding also just why Serbians are so justifiably concerned about the environment and their health, particularly from foreign nations' influence over it. You might think that war is bad enough, of course, for the people that have to live through it, but did you know that the war has lasting effects on their health and environment? And that's exactly what happened with Serbia when it was bombed by NATO in 1999. One of the things that made the bombing just so harmful was the use of depleted uranium, or DU, weapons by NATO. DU is a metal that is left over after uranium is enriched for nuclear power or bombs. It is very dense and it can pierce through tanks and buildings, but it also releases radiation and can cause serious health problems if it gets into your body. Some of the ways that DU can get into your body are by breathing in the dust, getting wounded by shrapnel, or by eating contaminated food or water. DU can damage your kidneys, it can cause birth defects, and it can increase the risks of cancer. In fact, a study by a medical journal found that cancer rates in Serbia went up by a massive 40% after the bombing, and leukemia, a type of blood cancer, went up by a huge 50%. That's scary, right? But DU was not the only thing that polluted Serbia's environment. The bombings also destroyed many factories and plants that produced oil and chemicals in populated areas, and these places released a lot of toxic substances into the air and water when they were hit. These substances can cause breathing problems, skin diseases, and other health issues, and a report by the United Nations found that the environment in Serbia and Montenegro, another part of the war, was seriously damaged. The report said that the DU is a potential health hazard, and they recommended more research and monitoring of its effects. And just on a side note, 24 years later, the US has recently struck a deal with Ukraine to supply them DU weapons. So Serbia has a lot of lithium under its soil, but as we discussed, getting it out of the ground comes with a lot of problems. It messes up the environment. Mining lithium destroys habitats, it erodes soils, it pollutes waters, and it cuts down trees. It can harm the plants and animals that live there, and it makes the land less fertile. It wastes water and makes it dirty. Mining lithium uses a lot of water to process the ore and to keep the dust down, and this can make water scarce in places that already need more of it. Plus, the chemicals used to extract lithium can leak into water and make it toxic for people and fish. It makes the air dirty. Mining lithium involves blasting and drilling, which creates dust and small particles. These can make it hard to breathe for the workers and for the people living nearby, and also the transportation of the oil and chemicals adds to the air pollution from trucks and machinery. It kicks out locals. Mining lithium requires taking over land, which can force people to move away from their homes and their farms. This can disrupt their social and cultural ties and affect their happiness and well-being. It causes conflicts and violates rights. Mining lithium often faces resistance from the people who live there, who feel that their interests and rights are being ignored. They may fight over land ownership, compensation, and the impact on their lives and livelihoods. It's important to respect and protect the rights of the locals, especially the indigenous people. It creates a lot of waste. Mining lithium produces a ton of waste, including rocks, tailings, and chemicals. These need to be managed properly to avoid contaminating the environment. But if it's the gold of the future, what if Serbia doesn't mine its lithium? Some people say that this could be bad for the country, such as it makes Serbia dependent on others. Serbia could become dependent on importing lithium for its energy and technology needs if it doesn't use its own reserves. This could make Serbia vulnerable to economic and energy shocks from the outside sources. It slows down Serbia's progress. Serbia could use its lithium reserve to develop new and green technologies. Ignoring these reserves could hold back Serbia's innovation and growth. It weakens Serbia's position in the world. Lithium is a valuable resource in the global market because of its role in electric vehicles and renewable energy. So by not using its lithium reserves, Serbia could miss out on opportunities to increase its influence and power in the world. So despite the Serbian government's shutdown of last year, it looks like the company behind it, Rio Tinto, is not giving up. And here's what we know so far. Rio Tinto, as we discussed earlier, has been buying up land in the area where they wanted to dig for lithium, and there is also claims that they are trying to bribe the locals with money and gifts. They're even going around knocking door to door, texting and calling people to make them sell their land. Now, that's creepy, right? Not to mention, how did they get copies of people's private phone numbers, email addresses, etc. in the first place? The Serbian startup group called Inabat, which is partly owned by Rio Tinto, announced they're going to build the Gigafactory, as discussed earlier, to make and recycle batteries. They say they're getting a lot of support from the Serbian government, who's offering them over 400 million euros in incentives. That's a lot of cash. And some people think that this deal with Inabat is a way for Rio Tinto to sneak back into the lithium mining business because they need lithium for their batteries. And they also want to dump their toxic waste from the recycling process in Serbia, which is not cool. So that's the situation right now. It seems like Rio Tinto is still trying to exploit Serbia's natural resources and environment, and some claim using Inabat as a cover-up. I would love to hear what you think about today's episode in the comments box below. And don't forget to please give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, then please hit that subscribe button. Until next time, it's bye from me for now.